Is Dan Snyder selling the Washington Commanders? The answer is we think yes. Details straight ahead on this special Snyder Sells episode of the Locked On Commanders podcast.
You are Locked On Commanders, your daily podcast on the Washington Commanders, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
All right, everybody, we welcome you aboard. Commanders fans, we thank you for making us your first listen and watch of the day. We have massive breaking news on a Commanders Wednesday that we will never, ever forget. This is a special edition of the Locked On Commanders podcast. Is Dan Snyder selling the Commanders? Are we free at last? Maybe. That's the first answer. A monumental announcement and some of what it means coming up. But first, if you've thought about securing your home with home security, but have been putting it off, you'll want to listen up. Commanders listener, Locked On Commanders listeners, I should say, you can order the #1 rated SimpliSafe home security system for 50% off right now. Right time for the holidays. This is their biggest offer of the year, and you won't want to miss it. David has it already at his home. I am in the process of getting it in mine. You guys are going to love it because they have so many cool different ways for you to secure your home and to do it digitally with a simple touch of a button. You could do it all from your phone. You could watch. You could make sure that your family is safe from here on out. Again, SimpliSafe, tremendous advanced technology, whether it's controlling your system from simply an app, watching the crystal clear HD live stream. It's all right there for you guys. In an emergency, 24/7 professional monitoring agents are using Fast Protect technology, which is exclusively from SimpliSafe to capture critical evidence and verify that the threat is real. So here's what we want you to do. Don't miss your chance to save big on the only security system that I would recommend. Get 50% off any new SimpliSafe system at simplisafe.com/locked on today. This is their biggest discount of the year, so don't wait. That's simplisafe.com/locked on NFL. There's no safe like SimpliSafe. All right, everybody, we welcome you aboard. David Harrison is out for this special edition. A lot going on in Commanders land, and we're not going to be able to cover it all. So we're going to do a quick episode here and basically give you the nuts and bolts and a little bit of opinion and analysis. And then we're going to have full reaction coming up later in the week as we learn more. Dan Snyder and the Washington Commanders are retaining Bank of America securities to quote unquote consider potential transactions, end quote. So what this basically means, the team has confirmed Forbes's initial story, which they probably leaked to Forbes, quite honestly. And it also means that they are not absolutely 100% selling the team, the entire team, or even a portion of the team, but that they are considering potential transactions, right? So that means, again, possibly an investment, possibly a full sale, or possibly nothing. Now, it's more likely that it is one of the first two choices than nothing, especially because of an NFL franchise. But we do have to leave open the possibility that nothing ultimately comes out of it. The team and sources that I've spoke to haven't indicated if they're only seeking investors or a full sale, but the belief, again, is that they are open to both. Now, what could happen here is by keeping the doors open to many different roads, you could wind up with a better scenario than you maybe thought. Maybe somebody doesn't want to invest a certain percentage and a certain amount of money. They want to buy the whole thing and they're willing to pay a premium price. You just never know. We'll have more details again and analysis as we continue to learn more, as there's more reporting, more details that come out. But this is a monumental day in Washington Commanders history and in the Washington NFL franchise's history, because it is the first time that the door has been officially cracked open that Dan Snyder willingly, and that's the thing, is considering an option to either sell part of the franchise or to sell the entire franchise. And that is why Wednesday, November 2nd, 2022 is an enormous day, and it might just be the biggest individual day in the history of the franchise since they won Super Bowl 26 in Minneapolis in January of 1992. Think about that. That's over 30 years ago. If this is a full 100% sale, which many experts, again, believe is the case, financial experts, legal experts, media pundits, what have you, again, this day is going to be the day that we all remember, maybe the day that the sale officially closes. And I think the timeline that we could potentially be looking at is next March at the annual league meetings down, I believe it is in West Palm Beach, Florida, somewhere in that area, where the owners will get together and potentially vote on either a minority investor or a full purchase of the Washington Commanders. That's probably the earliest, unless there's some sort of special session of some kind in between that and now. No matter who the organization would potentially go to in a full sale, it can't be worse than it has been over the last 23 years, right? Who are we kidding? I mean, I worked for Dan Snyder for 5 years. I worked for the radio station that he once owned. And I had pleasant exchanges with Dan Snyder, as I've talked about many times. However, I wasn't a threat to him. I wasn't somebody that maybe, I don't know, potentially he could mistreat or do something to. I was just a loudmouth on the radio and on Twitter at the time. And, again, I haven't talked to Dan Snyder in 7+ years, and that's fine. I don't want any relationship with Dan Snyder, but no matter who the organization goes to, it can't be any worse. It can't be any worse than it has been over the last 23 years. And even if somebody invests a certain percentage or a certain amount of capital and a certain amount of money to buy a certain percentage of the team, but it's a non-controlling share, meaning less than, say 50%, right? Even if that happens, I still believe that's better than the current path, the current situation. It's not ideally what you want, because ideally what you want is somebody to either buy 100% or what you want is somebody to buy at least a 50+% share so that they could have controlling interest and potentially uproot Dan Snyder, but more importantly, have controlling power and interest. What you could have here is someone who buys a minority share, whatever the percentage might be, and then gradually ups their percentage, gradually ups their stake, gradually increases their power until they assume full control. Now, that could take several years. We all know that. I think a lot of variables are on the table. Again, it's still better than the Snyder family having 100% control. Where did this come from? Well, that's a big question. A lot of media coverage, obviously, and some fans, along with media types, believe that the final straw could have been the last home game that we were at against the Green Bay Packers, a win, in which Tanya Snyder, the wife of Dan Snyder and the co-CEO of the team, was put on the video jumbo screen, and she was booed during a breast cancer awareness moment and event. And that, some people believe, I don't know if this is true, was perhaps the final straw when Dan and Tanya Snyder realized just how much they are loath. Just how bad it is. Because what happened was after that, you had to sell the team chance and all that. And this is again during a breast cancer. Now, maybe that's not the most appropriate thing. It wasn't. It wasn't something to celebrate, but it was a probable visceral moment of reality. Jim Irsay certainly could have had a major impact on this, right? Not only what he has said, but what he is doing behind the scenes. Maybe there's new revelations in the Mary Jo White discovery. We don't know. The list could go on and on. I mean, I've heard some things that still haven't come out yet revolving around the 2009 plane incident that the organization settled for $1.6 million with an individual who did talk to Beth Wilkinson. The question is did she talk to the new investigation, and did they find out more? And is there more troubling allegations and charges? There's also ongoing investigations that could lead to some type of charges under a wide array, a wide umbrella, as we all know, Department of Justice, it's potentially attorneys general. We all know that there is more still potentially to come. Again, we'll have full reaction and even more on a full edition of the Locked On Commanders podcast. This is going to serve as a special breaking news, just general summary of what we're dealing with and some of the big bullet points, if you will. Again, the team confirmed the story, so this isn't just a random report. They didn't refute the story. And remember what they said 2 weeks ago, that they would not sell the team. Again, statements from this team mean absolutely nothing, but they did confirm this. And it is quite possible that this is the day we've all been waiting for. If we wind up getting a 100% sale of the Washington Commanders, things will never be the same. And my friends, that's a good thing. All right. I'm Chris Russell here to tell you about our friends at Prize Picks. That's right. Prize Picks is awesome. If you want to play daily fantasy sports, Prize Picks is your only place to do it, right? And the best place to do it. Here's what you do. You pick between 2 and 5 players. And if they score more or less than their Prize Picks projection, you can win up to 10 times your money on any entry. So you want to play Thursday night football. Say you want to play some of the players in the Sunday afternoon games, whatever you want. In the Commanders game against the Minnesota Vikings, say you want to go Kirk Cousins less than his Prize Picks projection passing yards, and Taylor Heineke more in rushing yards, or Antonio Gibson more in catches. You get the point. All you have to do is pick between 2 and 5 players, and you can win up to, again, 10 times your money. You're not competing against other people, simply against the Prize Picks projection. Again, every sport is covered, so if the NFL is not your thing for whatever reason, you can play the NHL, the NBA, the World Series. You get the point. Entries can be made quick and fast, 60 seconds or less. Go to Prize Picks right now, prizepicks.com, or the Prize Picks app. Sign up and play daily fantasy right now. First-time users can receive a $100 instant deposit match up to $100 with the promo code Locked On. If you deposit $100, Prize Picks is going to give you $100. If you deposit $50, Prize Picks will give you $50. Don't forget to use the promo code Locked On and sign up for an instant deposit match today of up to $100. All right, guys, that's going to do it for this special edition of the Locked On Commanders podcast. Will Dan Snyder sell the Washington Commanders, or is he just looking for an investment partner to build a new stadium? All of those questions still have more answers to be found. We will discuss them all in full length, plus crossover Thursday as we get you set for the Washington Commanders and the Minnesota Vikings. Check it all out. We have you covered right here. Thanks for joining us on this, again, special edition of the Locked On Commanders podcast. For David Harrison, I'm Chris Russell. Again, thanks for watching, and thanks for making us your first listen and view of the day right here on the Locked On Commanders podcast.